we look at the future of this and we look at people who are wanting to really build their careers, the kind of people that are going to listen to a podcast like this, the reality is they are professional or they are working in their professionalism, and we're just saying you got to double down.
Your clients are going to expect a professional agent to understand where the city is going, where they're growing, what the plans are for moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I think those are definitely three things that people who want to be professionals and not amateur realtors need to understand.
Real estate professionals, welcome back to the RMG Agent Podcast. I'm so excited to have you back here, and we're just getting a ton of great feedback from you guys. Really, really appreciate all the likes and shares. As always, you can go to rmgagentpodcast.com for all of our past episodes, or you can hit us up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or all kinds of other places where you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also, don't forget, every one of these episodes comes with an action guide, so you can print that out and take notes and really kind of think through and process for your business how this episode impacted, empowered, and encouraged you. So to continue to impact, empower, and encourage all of you guys, the illustrious Jake Bartlett.
Hey guys, illustrious is a big word for me. I'm very thrilled to be here today and be able to do this episode. But first, go back and watch last week's episode, which was Escape from Fantasyland, Squaring with Reality, which that one got a little bit heavy in the middle, and the only way through was out. So and the only way out was through. There we go.
We said some hard things, and the reality is lots of download, because the reality right now is all the episodes that we're doing that are just pretty heavy and like, hey, get your head right. They are resonating with people. So I'm really thankful for that.
Nice. Okay, so today's episode is Transcend the BS, or full word, bullshit. 3 ways to level up professionalism. But first, we came up with this title because as we were working through this, it made me think of a story from back when I was in college, when one night we decided there was this myth that at the top of some artistic sculpture downtown Spokane that the secret to life was up there. So after more drinks than we probably should have been doing, we decided to go down there and climb up to the top. And the secret to life was transcend the bullshit. So as we work our way through to level up our professionalism, that kind of resonated with me, was that we've got to transcend the BS and become professionals. Yeah. And so the first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to kind of go back to one of our previous models that we've used, which is the trusted guide model. Yeah. And those episodes I highly recommend. We use it a lot with our team. It's something that we focus on as far as the direction that we're going. And the episodes for those were 16 through 19. Yeah. So we did episode 16 laid out the model, and then 17, 18, 19 deep dove on each section of it. So as we talk about leveling up our professionalism, let's talk with the trusted guide.
Yeah, so we, a couple episodes ago we talked about the crystal ball and this idea of like, what does the future hold in real estate? And what we believe strongly is that real estate as an industry right now is you may be able to classify it as a non-professional industry that happens to have professionals in it. And there are some unbelievably amazing professionals in our industry. In broad strokes, that's not how everybody shows up, right? And that's hard to say as somebody who loves this industry, but I would just say it's a fact. And so when we look at the future of this and we look at people who are wanting to really build their careers, the kind of people that are going to listen to a podcast like this, the reality is they are professional or they are working in their professionalism, and we're just saying you got to double down. Right? The future is bright for real estate professionals, we believe. And so we go back, and the reason we work off of models is we can go to something that's simple and actionable. And so we built out the trusted guide model, which just lays out this idea that if I'm going to be a Sherpa, if I'm going to be somebody who's a trusted guide who a client is going to be happily willing to pay and compensate for their services, then we have to be able to close for compensation. We have to do that through demonstrating value, and ultimately we do that by being the trusted guide. And the trusted guide has three levels to it. It has our ability to provide access to value and to relationships and resources, for us to provide a high level of knowledge for the client and for their experience, and then ultimately our ability to apply that to the client's needs, right? So that way our knowledge and our access really makes their experience great. It matters to them. And so we decided in this episode to start laying out, hey, here are 3 different things that we think you as a real estate agent should be thinking about and looking at when it comes to building your professional toolbox.
Yep. So one of the things that I'm constantly trying to upgrade to become more professional is specifically in my knowledge around certain aspects of the market. And one of the things that I'm focusing on is investors,
yes.
Gaining my knowledge within the investment circle. And so that I can attract those people and can be the trusted guide to investors.
Yeah, so investors are a niche, just like luxury is a niche, and and there's just all kinds of those markets, right? There's condos that are a niche, there's different subdivisions and areas. But I think if we zoom out and we say, okay, what do all real estate professionals need to understand? They need to understand that one of the biggest levers for building wealth in our country is real estate. And building wealth through real estate starts out so many times by somebody not really thinking as an investor. They just think, I want to stabilize my family. I want my part of the American dream or whatever. And so they buy their first house. Buying your first house isn't necessarily an investment. It's a forced bank account, and it fixes a significant amount of your life expenses. So there's some really wise things about buying your first house. But if you looked at that and you said, is this an investment? There's a good argument that it is. There's a good argument that it's not. But what it does is it absolutely changes the mindset. When you see somebody who hasn't bought a property yet, and right after they've closed on their first house, it absolutely opens up this massive world to them of a new way of thinking and a new way of seeing real estate. And what I believe that real estate professionals need to be able to do is to help somebody understand and process what they just experienced, which is they just went from real estate scary, it's this big thing I don't really understand, to I had my first real estate experience. And now the professional comes along and says, hey, I want to help you now be able to think and process like an investor. This is your home now, but the world of real estate that you just walked into, like this is Alice in Wonderland. Like you just walked, you just fell down the tree and all of a sudden you're looking around and it's just a whole new world. And every real estate professional, I think, has to be able to start the process of being this advisor for their clients to be able to learn, if they want to go down this route of thinking like an investor.
Yeah, so I think back, and some of my favorite clients over my career have been first-time home buyers, right? Because I know, and I'll use the stats with them. I think it was 66 times more wealthy for people that are homeowners versus people that are renters. Mm-hmm. It's like 66 times. I think the average net worth was like $350,000 of somebody that owns a home, and it's like $4,500 for somebody that doesn't.
Yeah.
So now, as a professional, you've helped them create this massive wealth for themselves that's mostly in their equity. Mm-hmm. But as a professional, moving to the next is going to be helping identify opportunities for them to continue that wealth growing within the real estate business.
Yeah, so there's some really basic ways to think, and it starts with the real estate agent thinking this way, because a real estate agent that's just looking for another deal, there's a couple of problems with that. One is they don't tap into the ability to help, in our case and in our business, our intention, our mission is to build wealth and wholeness with everyone we serve. And if we don't have this eye for thinking about things like an investment, we don't serve our clients in that regard, but we also don't serve ourselves and our families in that regard, because it's very possible from experience to sell lots of real estate over a long period of time and look back and realize that I haven't built wealth for my family for this. Through this medium. And so it really starts with some very, very basic things. One of the best resources out there for building your understanding of investments is a podcast called Bigger Pockets. Mm-hmm. And it's been around for 10, 15 years now. It's been around forever. And there's just episode after episode after episode that address all kinds of different ideas or thoughts around real estate investing. And it's an amazing place to start looking at investing and start changing your perspective of investing and your skill set around it.
Yeah. And as we talk about this, and we're talking about ways to level up your professionalism in real estate, we're starting to get outside of the norm cookie cutter deals, right? Like this isn't specific to only be investor centric as far as be a professionalism, like be a professional. This is just one avenue. And as we start to figure out how to be more professional with the people that we're working with, that we can help grow our business, we have to think about areas outside of that norm. That's what led us to this investor situation.
Yeah, and just at a beginning, okay, so if you haven't ventured down the road as a real estate agent into the professionalism element of understanding investment, there's a few different things you can do. One is in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent series, there's a couple of books. One's called Flip, one's called Hold. They're great books. They address the mindset, but then they also address some really critical things for you as well as for your clients, and that is setting your investment standards. One of the ways to really mess up in real estate investing yourself, as well as to not be very useful to your clients, is to start chasing after a deal, get really emotionally excited. And one of the best skills that you can develop is to be able to help identify and help your clients realize, like, hey, they're not going to go after a real estate deal unless it has a certain cap rate. And it has a certain cash-on-cash return. So when that deal goes beyond that, and they, as your clients, are saying, well, but we really like the location, now we take them back and say, hey, that location is really great if you wanted to live there, but we're talking about an investment. And if you do this, this is what this does as an investment. And it's amazing that the number of houses that I have not sold to people who were beginning investors have probably made me a lot of money, because those people realize I wasn't just looking to help them buy this property, but I wanted to serve them and their family for years to come when it comes to building and developing their wealth.
Yeah, it's a really good point. A professional might help somebody not buy one house that keeps them from being able to buy 3 or 4 later, right? Yeah. Like a bad deal keeps somebody, might give them a bad taste in their mouth of doing investments, and now you shortchange the amount of homes that they could buy later on.
Yeah, early in my career, I ended up having a relationship like this where I helped an individual buy a house. And the very next conversation with him was, we were sitting down with a builder looking into building and developing fourplexes. And I ran the numbers on those fourplexes, and I called him after the meeting, and I just said, hey, do what you want, but here's all the reasons that I wouldn't do this deal. Mm-hmm. And those fourplexes were really cool, but they were an absolute money pit, and they were a horrible investment. And he turned around from our conversation, went and told 2 other friends that were in the same corporation with him. They all 3 came to me and said, we want to invest in properties. And we spent probably the next 6 years buying, maybe a total of 10 different properties and maybe 30 or 40 doors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the first point that I want to make, if this is the direction you want to go, is start working with more and more investor clients. Like, you need to know the numbers inside and out more than they do, or you need to be able to know how to present the numbers of a deal to them in a way that they can understand.
Yeah, and so that's going to be you educating yourself. It's going to be you identifying your criteria, helping ask them great questions to identify their criteria. And there's just a really practical piece of this, and that is when I started getting into some larger, at least larger for me, investments, my coach at the time, actually who's still my coach, said, I want you to go out every week, and I want you to vet 6 deals. And so we were vetting 6 large multifamily properties around the entire country. A lot of them we weren't going to buy or look at or invest, but I started running the numbers, and it was so hard at first. It was just really intimidating, because I hadn't run numbers on multifamily syndication properties before. And once I started doing it, I got several weeks into it, and pretty soon I could see a property, and it was 3 minutes later, I knew that's not an opportunity, or I need to look at this more, or I need to do more research, right? So the idea is with investments is, if you can help everybody that comes into your space as a real estate professional be able to have the opportunity to build their wealth through real estate, whether they take you up on that or not, we believe that is a professional skill that falls into that knowledge category that you can bring to the table. And then over the course of time, it also becomes access. You start learning the people who are movers and shakers in the investment world. You start learning learning about the banks and the bankers who are going to lend at different levels when it comes to that. And it's an area of professionalism that I think is pretty ground floor for the future of real estate, because beyond an individual transaction, real estate is a massive, massive investment vehicle.
Yeah. And also in the access, you can start to build a team of people contractor wise that,
Absolutely.
People call you when a sewer line backs up and they got to deal with that, which is something that just happened to me on one of my investment properties. So the next point in here is land use and future planning. As a professional, you need to get good with that.
Yeah. So the vast majority of real estate agents are going to work in or around towns or cities. And those towns and cities typically have a future use plan. And so in Anchorage right now, they have their 2040 plan. And so that's their plan for here's what we want the city to look like. These are the areas that we want to be commercial. These are the areas that we want to change to residential. These are the areas that we want to be mixed use because of the vision of the assembly at the time or whatever. And as a real estate professional, you knowing and having read the future plans of your town or your city, and you starting to build relationships with the people that are making those decisions is a massive professional opportunity. Because one of the things that we do that leads us to business is when we're calling and talking to clients, there's 4 questions that we get to ask. Like, who do you know who's looking to buy real estate, sell real estate, or invest in real estate? Or simply has real estate related questions. That 4th one is absolutely a gift to people, because if somebody just, there's people all the time and they're sitting in their backyard and they're looking at their backyard and they're scratching the head and just saying like, I wonder what I could do with this. Mm-hmm. So who do they call? Well, they call me or they call you.
Right.
And if I happen to know, like in our case in Spokane or in Washington State, if I happen to know and have been in relationship with people who are the front end of the ADU movement in our state and the laws that have been developed and are starting to become enforced, now all of a sudden I can speak to that client effectively about wealth building. So it falls back into that investing piece. But also I have access to these different people who might be builders, might be bankers, might be different authorities to be able to help them facilitate that.
Yeah, or if you've got somebody that comes to you with a piece of land that they just got, in a will that they don't know what the best use for it is, and because you've been looking at what the future plan is like this is zoned agriculture right now, but in 2 years it's going to be residential.
Right.
Like we're going to hold that for 2 years. It's going to be worth your cost to hold it and then sell it once it's zoned residential, because a builder is going to pay you more to be able to build 30 houses than if you sell it as just a agricultural piece of land.
Yeah, and we've been able to do this over our career several times now, and it's just been great. And the amazing thing about this is it's an awesome opportunity to be able to consult your clients, to bring your access and your knowledge to bear, right, and to give them that experience. The reality, though, is that a lot of people, even if you clearly articulate it and they say, wow, like that's a big opportunity, but Jake, I don't want to hold this property for 2 years because of this family dynamic or because of whatever the thing is, they will opt out of this opportunity to build wealth because it's not actually wealth for them, or maybe you could say it's actually not wholeness. It gives them an opportunity for wealth, but it does some damage in their family, and that's just not okay. Well, it puts you in the front row seat for that opportunity, not at the cost of the client, but because the client is the first one to say, no, I'm going to bow out. Now I'm the heir apparent of this opportunity. And so if you're a real estate agent and you're serving inside of a town or a city, then I would encourage you, go to some zoning and planning meetings, right? Read the plans, and at a minimum, you're going to educate yourself as to what the future situation is slated to be. But there's additional opportunity here. And that is, not all cities are actually doing a good job with their planning. In fact, you might be able to say a lot of times they're not. So that gives you an opportunity to be a voice to fight for your clients and fight for owners' rights. And eventually, it actually may be an opportunity for you to have a voice as to how to carve out the future of your city or your town. So you want to grow as a professional, be somebody who is helping navigate the future of your city or your town's land use. That's a massive opportunity that the vast majority of real estate agents don't take advantage of.
Awesome. Okay, and our third point here is trust and probate wealth transfer.
Yeah. So one of the things that you'll absolutely run into in your real estate career is there's one very, very clear thing that always happens to everybody, and it's morbid to say, and that is everybody dies.
Yep.
Right. And when somebody dies and they have real estate assets, they go through a very, very hard season. And that is that typically there are people who are heirs that are in mourning, sometimes are in mourning and in conflict with each other. And they have to figure out how to either extract the wealth out of this or keep wholeness inside of the family, or most of the time both. Right. Again, going back to our mission and the reason it's so important to us. And so if I, as a real estate agent, realize that all of my clients at some point are going to die, right? Or their parents are, or their aunts and uncles are, or their grandparents are, or something like that, I need to educate myself on the probate process, as well as to start the process of understanding how trusts work. And the low-lying opportunity is that when somebody reaches out to me, I know at a basic level that I can help them, and I can help them figure out the process of who needs to be involved, what documents are needed to be able to help them move forward, and to also be able to help navigate some of the family dynamics. This can extend all the way out to something like what Dan Ihara does out of Hawaii, where he has a certified residential planner class and program, and he helps people do wealth transfers, and he lines up all of the different contractors, all of the different other professionals and everything, and educates people on how to transfer wealth in real estate as well as other wealth to the next generation, and to be able to do that in a tax protected way. So there's massive opportunities with all of these, but at a minimum, if I raise my hand, I say I want to be a real estate professional in the future, I think that these are areas that even if you're not going to niche down with investors, and even if you're not going to niche down, with development, these are things that are critical for you to start growing and learning.
Yeah, I would say that bare minimum for professionalism, your clients are going to expect a professional agent to understand where the city is going, where they're growing, what the plans are for moving forward. Mm-hmm. So, I think those are definitely three things that people want to be professionals and not amateur realtors need to understand.
Yeah. So if we just looked at resources, right? So we already talked about a few. On the investor side, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent series, Flip and Hold, really, really good. You jump into that, you're in the shallow end of the pool, and there's just endless books written about it. But you'll get the gist of it, and you'll be able to start serving people better, and then go to bigger pockets and even think about becoming a part of that community. When it comes to all of your city and town issues, most cities, maybe some of the small towns not so much, but most cities actually have their meetings, their zoning and planning commission meetings on YouTube. You can jump on there and watch that thing at 2x speed, read whatever the future development plan is, have an idea. Like here in Spokane, there's a boundary limit for the city. And so when they're going to expand that is a hot area of debate. And so are you paying attention to when that is? We have some friends that have land that is right outside of that boundary line that was very, very inexpensive. And that land is going to become way more valuable once they move the boundary line. So how do they know to buy that land instead of this land? They're paying attention to this, right?
Another book in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent series is the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. That's another book to start with.
That's the one to start with.
Start with that one, then go to Flip and Hold from there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. That's a great one. And then on the trust and probate stuff, there's two things I think you should do here. One is this idea. There's a book called Entrusted by, I think it's Andrew Howell is his name. But this whole area of trusts and past and wealth transfer, there's a lot of books on it that are not real estate specific, but are really important to start understanding what it looks like for people to transfer wealth to the next generation. What are the different things that honestly most Americans aren't paying attention to that are built into our tax code and built into our corporate structures to be able to take advantage of that? It's a really great area to start getting educated on.
Nice. Our last thing we're going to talk about here, and I think we did a full episode on it. I think it was called "Oops, I Did It Again," not being your first client. But as far as in any of these areas where you're going to be expected to be a professional, your clients are also going to want you to do it as well.
Yeah, there's kind of a geeky word. We talked about this at the team a few weeks ago. It's gnosko. It's a Greek word for this. The word we get knowledge from.
Yeah.
But the idea of that word is that knowledge or knowing something isn't really knowing it until you've actually done it, right? This is experiential knowledge. And I think that you owe it to your family as well as to your clients to not just talk about these things or learn about these things, but to do them. Mm-hmm. So as an investor, it's not just helping your clients with this, but it's actually you dealing with your own fear of becoming maybe a first-time investor, or starting to go down this road of vetting deals for yourself. So that way, when you're vetting deals for your clients, you're looking at through that lens of, if I were you, I have been you, and here's what I did. Right. Same thing when it comes to the city stuff. Am I paying attention to this maybe for the sake of my own investing? Right. And then ultimately, as a real estate professional, do you have a living trust, or do you have any other kind of trust? Do you know why you would have a trust? Do you know what the corporate structure of your family maybe should be, and what that does for your long-term wealth building and ultimately wealth transfer?
Nice. Anything else to add on this one?
That's it. And these are just examples, right? So if somebody was sitting here and they're like, I'm a luxury agent. I want to up my game as a professional luxury agent. Awesome. There are things like this that you need to be plugged into and really going deep in. If you're a commercial real estate agent or you're a property manager, there are things like this that you can go in and really start developing your professional baseline. And honestly, in a lot of ways, real estate, it kind of does. It's almost like all roads lead to this idea of some level of investment. And so if you were going to start somewhere, it would be with upping your professional game around understanding real estate as an investment.
Nice. Awesome. I know for me, the thing after this that I got to get better at and understand more is the trust and probate side of things. That's something that I need to up my game in to be able to say I'm a professional in that area. So
yeah, it's interesting because we went down this road many years ago, and it's a heavy lift. It's not easy, and it's frustrating. Part of it's just because if you didn't grow up with this kind of stuff, it's a whole new world. But now with higher net worth coaching clients and higher net worth clients, when they start talking about some of this, or even are confused about this, it's like, hey, here's what I did, here's the reason I did it, and here are my resources. Like, I'm your access point for all of these professionals that know how to do this and know with your particular financial situation, your particular family situation, how to best navigate this. And it's very, very helpful. It's a game changer.
Awesome. Cool. Well, stay tuned for our next episode, which is going to be another master series with our good friend, John Walker.
Yes.
Who's one of the best people I know, and his clients could not trust him and like him and love the service that he gives them anymore.
He's just fantastic. So we're going to bring that. He's going to talk about what it looks like to build a great business from doing that, taking great care of your network.
Thank you for tuning in today, guys. As always, we're here to impact, empower, and encourage you in your real estate business and in your lives.
Awesome. Take care, guys. Appreciate it.